Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the February 24th Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I see no excuse required from this meeting. Minutes of the last meeting, February 10th. How do you wish to handle them? Dan.
I'd like to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay. Dan's motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any errors or omissions or discussion about them? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? That is carried. Any post-agenda items? Seeing none, I'll carry on. Adoption of the agenda. Amanda, so moves. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Development permits. Shannalee, good morning. Just before we get started, I think an order of business that I didn't catch. I'd like to go around the table. I think everybody knows the infamous Joe Comistic, but let's do a round of introductions anyway, starting with Neil.
Morning, Joe. Amanda Philpott, Division 8, Duchess.
Good morning, Joe. Ellen Unra, represent the village around the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, Joe. Greg Screever, Lake No Resort in Castles.
Morning.
Good morning, Joe. I represent Arnold Dirksen, represent the area in the far north.
Far north.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, County Administrator.
Morning, Joe. Holly Johnson from Scandia Rainier in Bow City.
Might be your neighbor.
Good morning, Nadina Scandrip from Division 2, Tilly area.
Good morning. Dan Short from Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Lynette Kopp from Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Pam Elliott, Planning and Development Admin Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin. Hey, Joe.
Morning, Joe. Okay, Shannalee, I'm going to let you tell us about development permit, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Development permit 2022002 is for the expansion of the existing EID Historical Park campground and the approval of 2 existing buildings. The applicant is proposing...
Shannalee, can I stop you for a minute? Does anybody have their microphones on their devices? Yeah. Okay. Because it's really hard to hear, Shannalee. So maybe just one mic on at a time. Is that what you're thinking? Oh, it's that thing. Okay. That out of space thing. Sorry, Shannalee. Go ahead now. Thank you.
Development permit 2022002 is for the expansion of the existing EID Historical Park campground and the approval of 2 existing buildings. The applicant is proposing to install 10 new camping stalls on the south side of the parcel. There will be power to these sites, and there is potable water, bathrooms, and RV sewage disposal existing in the campground to the north. There are 2 buildings on the parcel that do not have the benefit of a development permit. There's a line shack and a Reeves building, and these buildings are included in this development permit. In the land use bylaw, the campground states that campgrounds shall not be used for year-round recreational vehicle storage. The applicants are requesting a variance to this requirement. There is no concerns from staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners, and we're recommending approval with the conditions, and Mr. Comistic is here to answer questions.
Thank you, Shannalee. Joe, if you'd like to come forward. I'm going to ask for questions from MPC. Joe, did you want to start us off by adding anything?
Can everyone hear me now? All right, very good. No, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm just going to start by saying that the campground provides us with a stable revenue source for the EID Historical Park. And so that's the function of that campground, and the expansion is the result of very healthy acceptance of our existing campground. There are 40 sites there. We are adding 10. So the 40 sites consist of approximately 30 that include the storage on an annual basis of RV units, and and those sites are used on a seasonal basis by a split of campground users that consist of hunters and fishermen who use it in the fall and winter. In fact, one very interesting campground user said he only stays there when there's a lot of ice on the river and the lake, as opposed to the summer. But 30%, 35% of those are hunters and fishermen, and the remainder are summer users. So there's no permanent occupants at the sites, but the RV units are stored there. We charge an annual storage fee of $600, and we charge $30 a night on an honor system when people stay there.
Okay. Questions from Neil?
Yeah, I think it's great. You're going to put in 10 more campsites. We need more of those. How do you administer your reservations? Is it first come, first serve, or yearly rates, or that's always a concern with a campground?
Okay.
You're shut off right now. There. Come back.
Am I on now?
Yeah.
Our website includes a phone number. There's one individual in this particular case. It's our caretaker, Gordon Alexon, who will accept reservations for sites. There are approximately 8 sites that are open on a regular basis now, and then would be expanded to the other 10 that we are opening now. But the sites that people have paid annual storage fees for, they don't need to make a reservation because their RVs are there.
But how do do those sites come up on an annual basis, and they have to rebid them like the EAD does with theirs? Or once a person has a site, is it indefinite?
You just shut yourself off again. Just leave it on. It's on now.
If the red light's on, it works? Okay.
Well, actually, if this red light is on up here, then you're on. That's the best way to tell.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now I understand. Okay. I just needed a 5-year-old to help me.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I have 7 grandchildren, so they all assist me with the technology. So what was your question, Neil?
It's not that important, but it was, how do you make it fair that those permanent sites get out to everyone? Like, is it an annual rebid or indefinite, or how do you do it? And I know this has been a problem with the EID, making it fair to everybody to come in, so a few people can't grab a few sites and have them forever.
Yeah. Right now we have 8 extra sites that people can access that are not permanently occupied. So there hasn't been an issue of conflict. There are some folks who are the 30 that are there have been there on a not a permanent basis, but unless they choose to leave, we just send them an invoice every year, and they'll renew. But each year there's some turnover, So this year we've got three of the sites who had been there are going to leave and go somewhere else, and then those will be occupied by someone on a first come first served basis. but we haven't had any issues of, we have a demand that is out there from folks who would like to move to our site, but there hasn't been any conflict over that.
You're well aware of squatters' rights.
Pardon?
You're well aware of squatters' rights. I think that's where Neil's going. You got to be so careful about squatters' rights. Once they've been in a location for so long, they have certain rights. So you might want to read up on that.
Yeah.
I do want to, before I ask MPC how they want to handle this, I do want to point out to everybody that this operation, and it is an operation, runs by volunteers. And it's a huge economic boost, I believe, to not only the county but the city as well. So please convey council's or MPC's best wishes to all the volunteers on your board. How would you like to handle this? Neil?
I'd like to make the motion with a, I'm not totally satisfied that the way the sites are let out in the future is going to be to your advantage, because we're supporting the project. If there's 30 sites there, and they're permanent sites unless they want to leave, that really is not a totally fair way of accessing those sites for the general public. But I'll make the motion to go ahead with the project, and you can think about that and come back next year.
Your motion again, Neil?
The way it's worded, the permit.
Option 1. Oh, there are no options given. Okay. Recommendation. So you're approving as recommended by staff?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? That is carried. So thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you very much for making it so simple, and we're very pleased for Scandia. You know, this is a big industry. You know, it's our. I suggest it's not excluding the agricultural enterprises, but as far as the little hamlet of Scandia, we have the largest. The largest beekeeper in Canada is resident there, but then our and I when I say beekeeper, I have to be careful because I know that there's some issues with the definition of largest, but
It's the number of hives.
yeah.
It's the number of hives.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's our huge industry, and then this little spot has actually resulted in a reopening of a coffee shop in Scandia. So 30 years ago, the coffee shop closed in Scandia, and we now have a reopened coffee shop, and partially because of this campground. So anyhow, thank you very, very much.
Thanks for coming in this morning. And thank you to your volunteers on the board. Post-agenda items. We had none in camera. Is there anything for in camera? Seeing none, we have this information item. A solar project in Cypress County. Maria, did you want to speak on that at all?
Yeah, this is a solar project right on the border of the county of Newell, alongside the EID grazing lease close to Idasley. So they haven't applied for an AUC permit at this point. They're just working on the public consultation. So it's just an information item, and if there's any issues that MPC sees or would like staff to kind of keep tabs on, then we can definitely do that as this moves forward in the process.
Will we go through the IDP process with this application eventually?
When a development permit is requested from Cypress County and special areas, then it will be circulated to us. But the governing body of these types of solar projects is the AUC, so ultimately they get, they have all the decision-making authority, and we can make comment if we need to, but they get the final hammer.
Thank you. Question?
When I look at their map, their project area, it seems rather unusual how it's broken into all these separate little blocks. Is that typical of lots of projects? I've only seen them generally being like a huge block, and this one seems to have little pieces.
If it's anything like the one out here, the reason it's broken up is because all the underground pipelines, oil and gas development, they have to stay away from, so it looks kind of checkerboard. It's just like this one over here. That's what I think it is.
And I believe any wetlands as well.
Yeah, wetlands are big too.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about this project is it's on the wrong side of the fence. Like we got our butts kicked again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions before I'll call for an adjournment then? Adina, thank you. Adina adjourns the meeting at 10:20.